V did a video a while ago called Do You Feel Cultural Stagnation? I'll link it down below, do give it a watch, where he mentions how much of our culture is filled with unremarkable people. Now, before I address that, let me just say this. Holy crap, a society obsessed with equality and inclusivity does not produce exceptionalism that would merit legendary status? My word, it's a mystery as to why. Look at our politicians, for example. Where are the Thatchers? Where are the Churchills? Is there any politician nowadays that you think would get a statue in the future? Trump would, definitely, considering his heavyweight bouts and his continuous victory over the machine. But I think when you look back at exceptional people as far as politicians go over the course of history, a lot of them are the product of a time of turmoil or victory. I mean, look at America, for example. Reagan, fall of the wall. Kennedy, the Cuban Missile Crisis. FDR, World War II and the Great Depression. Woodrow Wilson, World War I. Speaking of Kennedy, look at this meme. I can't read this without laughing, by the way. I have tried. I keep laughing every single time. But that one on the right, she is the product of a total collapse in standards brought about by the toxic stupidity of democracy and the advent of social media. She is the epitome of everything that is wrong with modern-day society. She is in politics purely because of her social media presence. Her notoriety is because she is a shameless attention seeker. She has tits and she is a colossal moron. That's it. If social media did not exist, there is no way in hell anyone would know or care who this woman is. That is the God's honest truth. So there's 4 points that loop into each other quite well that I think underline the ingredients for the cultural stagnation. The West, specifically America, is in a spiraling identity crisis. Capitalism for the many, to the extreme, produces no capitalism for the many. Profit at all cost is the death of the arts. And social media and technology has made everything much, much worse. Or to sum it up in one sentence, the democratization of society is the root of all freaking evil. In the Western Hemisphere, our culture largely comes from America, and America as a nation is currently a place of turmoil, tribalism, and a nation whose intelligentsia's corruption has permeated damn near every aspect of its culture, much to the demise of everything the country is supposed to represent, aka it has the identity crisis. America as a myth, the legend, is this nation of excessive decadence and a larger-than-life ethos. For them to be culturally exporting this bullshit of inclusivity and equality makes no sense at all. That is the death knell of American exceptionalism, and that is because of this utterly nonsensical obsession with equality and inclusivity, making things more equitable. This mentality results in the cultural decay. If you pick units for their array of appearance rather than their capacity to produce excellence, you are going to suffer the deterioration of quality. The evidence for this is already overwhelming. Because for some reason, we must listen to everyone of a different race, creed, and culture because of their so-called experience representing their potential collective grief, which is obviously completely rubbish. Now, anyone who is rational and sane, which excludes all of academia, you would strive to make the exceptional better. But if your driving motive is this hellbound idea of equality, exceptionalism is going to be your arch nemesis. And this whole stupid stance is the product of capitalism, just not in a direct way. Free market capitalism produces the best. In any organization where people are free, the natural elite of any endeavor will emerge. This is what has made the West prosperous and successful. The driving motor that powers exceptionalism can be summed up in 5 words. Leave me the fuck alone. This capitalistic cycle has produced a level of wealth unseen in all of human history. Then because you have this stupid thing called democracy, the wealth accumulated in this endeavor has been used to utterly destroy any sense of morality in the political realm. So the cycle of capitalism produces the Pareto distribution, the concentration of wealth, which facilitates the corruption that causes the monopolization of the market and increasingly the fascistic push society is experiencing right now, which is then used by the elite as the plectrum to play on society's moral heartstrings. That this inequality is built on exploitation and unfairness, and only if we give them more power they will surely take care of this not-so-tricky dilemma. It's no bloody surprise then, if you don't value the best, you don't push meritocracy, and you actively discourage it, you don't produce anything legendary. I mean, V correctly points out that there's very little, if any, originality left, and everything is a prequel, a sequel, a re-release, or whatever. Now, I'll focus on the gaming industry because this is one that I'm personally most familiar with. Now, there is an old saying, the difference between medicine and poison is in the dose. That's capitalism, for a variety of reasons. If you look at gaming history, you have exceptional titles that would either spawn or redefine the genre with a new benchmark. So, for example, the likes of, say, Age of Empires, Command & Conquer, Warcraft, World of Warcraft even, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Street Fighter, Doom, Quake, Duke Nukem, Half-Life, GoldenEye, Thief, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, Sims, Diablo, Baldur's Gate, to name a few. But I think the most consequential game of all time is Grand Theft Auto 3. That was the melding of technology with a good story, one of the peak moments of gaming history, where you can mix technology with the art. But once this industry really started making an ungodly amount of money and became the dominant entertainment form, then you started seeing the art evaporate. The DLCs, the excessive purchasing, like everything else that gets saturated in cash, it becomes corporatized, soulless garbage. Because before you had developers who would put their heart and soul into a title. But once they started making enough money to the point they could buy out up-and-coming competition, or big publishers would merge, they'd but see something successful and just buy it. They have no interest in taking any risks. They let smaller developers and companies take the gamble. If they see it's a money-making franchise, cash in and keep cranking it out, over and over and over again. Who gives a fuck about the quality of the product? We're all about quantity, baby. We have shareholders. All we care about is the profit, so give us your money, you fucking plebs. I mean, Yahtzee made this point years ago. There's games that pull you in and thrill you, and then there's games that numb you. Once you reach this unholy swimming in cash level, the numbing is all you have left. It's no longer a game, it's a drug. But there is a point to be made because V brings up the rewatchability, which I'm sure is not a word, of certain films and franchises. And there's also this overlap with games as well, but in a different way. And this is where the technology becomes kind of toxic. In prior decades, while the technology was still quite lagging, this was compensated for with a great story. But with the increasingly heavy emphasis on the hardware, the visual element now has become the dominant factor in the games, with the story element sort of being left behind, as well as being the main justification for the need for upgrading the hardware, one washes the other, so to speak. This is the soulless emptiness of modern-day materialism in the gaming world. Oh, it's shinier and there's more stuff. But it's just kind of there. It doesn't move you. It doesn't much suffice for anything other than mindlessly grinding away hours. There's the numbing again. Honestly, I can't even remember the last game I even bought to play. V asked for good movies made in the last 5 or 10 years. I thought of games that really stuck with me, and I realized none of the games on my list that stuck with me would crack that requirement. They're all older. I thought maybe 6 or 7 titles. Tekken 3 and Mortal Kombat, the latter I played when I was 5 or 6? I can to this day still remember the move combinations. Fallout 3 in New Vegas, Vice City and San Andreas, and Dragon Age Origins. That's it. And as far as the movies go, I can recount 1, maybe 2 in the last 5 years. And that's all. And that is all for today. I will see you all next time.